This will improve the margins, not so much for this quarter, but in Q4 and beyond, because at launch, there's no way this is going to be as cheap or cheaper than the Model 3 today. Why would it be? They're still ramping, demand is high.
Yeah, so Brian, in the last weeks, a lot of things happened. The Tesla stock price crashed and the drama kept on boiling up again. Tesla Q was pretty happy now that they started to lose less money, maybe, I don't know. The stock price recovered a little bit, but still, is the stock price important? Do we need to care? Is it not important? How do you
It
see
really
this?
isn't. It really isn't. Over the short term, what you get is emotions. Emotions rule the day. You'll always see people thinking it's the next get rich quick scheme, and
Yeah.
there's no such thing. If you look at this snapshot, you lost this much money, and somebody says, "Well, if you look at this snapshot, hey guys, I don't live in snapshots. I live in time, and
Yeah.
time is linear. So the longer this goes on, the more fundamentals are all that matters. Well, the company's trading at such a massive PE ratio, it doesn't make any sense. Right, but this is a company that's growing in a field of companies that are dying. Volkswagen Group has lost more sales in the last 5 years than Tesla has made. Tesla, they're down 2.7 million units a year, and Tesla isn't even at 2.7 million a year. So why would you invest in a company that's dying? And Tesla is not just a car company. Well, I need to see revenues. Great, because they're here. Stationary storage is a big deal. It's printing money. And every one of those shipping container size mega packs you see go out from the factory is something like $400,000 in profit. So
That's crazy.
I'm feeling fine.
Yeah, that's good to know. So you've heard it here. You shouldn't pay attention as much. It doesn't really matter. I also see that this way. And last episode, Omar was on Omar's catalog also, and he also talked about this. And I asked a similar question, and he said, "Look at what was happening. I mean, Tesla is like the next Amazon or the next Apple back in the days. It's still growing, and like you said, the market is like going bananas if you look at it, because ICE vehicles are declining and EVs are going up. The EV market is shrinking, but not Tesla. So that's also very important to note here, because we had those headlines as well. But what do you think was in the Tesla realm for you was from the last, let's say, last month? What was your most important topic, the one that you thought, this is the one key piece that you really were invested in?
It's got to be the Cybertruck, right? It's no long, the doubters were saying it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And then we see one or two of them, and then we see a few more, and then we see 3 on a truck, and then we see 8 on a pair of trucks, and they're headed in all directions. They're headed up to the Midwest for, I believe, EPA testing for to measure the range and efficiency. They're headed to California for perhaps crash testing, since the new crash test facility is not complete yet in Texas, and they're moving out. And what I tweeted was, for the delivery event, instead of prioritizing local deliveries, forget it. Stick with the reservation numbers. We know what the reservation numbers are. Let's go with those and give everyone the option. Do you want to wait and get it locally, or do you want to fly down and drive it home? Because then for the next week, the next month, there'll be nothing but highway sightings of, look what I found. This thing is real. I've seen it. It's everywhere. And it'd be a social media bonanza, the likes of which no amount of advertising could make up for.
Yeah, I'm still salty that this thing isn't delivered to Germany right now. But let's see how it unfolds. I think when this thing is rolling out, we will see if this comes. The crash tests are very important because of the pedestrian safety issue. People talk about this here all the time, that, this thing will never come to Germany. And also Matthew Donegan Ryan has said that he doesn't believe that thing coming to Europe very soon. Of course, the US market is way bigger, and they have enough orders there to deliver there. And it makes sense that they first cater to this market and then come to come to Europe maybe, but he sees China first, and then Europe maybe someday in 2026 or something like this. But I'm still hopeful because I have a order. Many people from the channel know that already, and I'm waiting for the Cybertruck because I want to buy a plane ticket, just fly to the US and make a video about the Cybertruck. This would be so awesome.
And that's what I was going to say is there will be a lot of people who do that, who book it on Turo, fly over, spend a week driving it, and just live the dream, however briefly.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting that there were maybe even 1.5 weeks ago, people still thought this thing isn't real. It's pretty interesting to witness. Absolutely crazy. But how do you think that the production of the Cybertruck will be in that sense? Because the factory, the tooling, have we heard something about the factory? Are they still just doing everything by hand?
Yes. So we don't know that part because they're capable of covering the windows. We know the line exists. We don't know how much use it's getting. The most recent estimate I heard was they're at a rate of 6 to 9 trucks a day. That right there exceeds the rate at which you would hand build them. But yeah, we can't see a new email was circulated saying, as a reminder, we have a zero tolerance policy for leaking photos from inside the factory. And I heard that someone just last week was fired over being caught with a camera. And so I've got sources inside the factory. And what I've told them is I'm not publishing anything from inside the factory until we are past this point, because I'm not going to get you fired. It's not worth it.
Absolutely.
As much as I'd love it, that small bump in traffic is not worth your career.
Yeah, absolutely. But are you excited? If you compare the Cybertruck line, is it so different from the Model Y production? Or can we say, okay, they're pretty similar because the exoskeleton thing fell through? So how do you see this?
So I would agree with what you just said, that the exoskeleton did fall through. I would say that while it is still going to provide a substantial amount of structural integrity, it is not going to be the entire amount like it was expected to be. Because of that, some of the other elements have been reverted to more traditional car design. When it comes to the entire skateboard, that's pretty much figured out. Tesla knows how to make a battery, how to make front and rear castings, and how to put them all together. But they don't. But the steel, as complicated as some of the doubters will say, is not complicated. Bending steel is easy. It's been done for 100 years effectively. This is just a press brake that is larger than some, but not the largest, and material that is thicker than most, but far from the thickest. So it'll be fine. But dialing in any new line generally takes some time, unless you're Shanghai, in which case it's just already running.
Yeah, talking about Shanghai, I think that's a great transition, because it's so interesting what's happening there, because there the rumor kitchen was cooking. We could say that for the last 2 weeks. It got stronger and stronger. It's about the Model 3 Highland line that some influencers in the Tesla space say that it's not real, it doesn't exist. But I disagree. We've seen some indications of that. I mean, it is a redesign, but I think it's going to be a substantial. It's going to be pretty differently built. And what's your key takeouts from the Highland?
So the Highland in Shanghai is undeniable. We'd heard rumors that the line was being configured. We heard rumors that they were taking some of it down for retooling. And then maybe a month ago, I started seeing them show up in drone footage, and I started sharing those. And these could be anything, right? These are sedan-shaped and sized cars that are hidden behind a privacy fence and car covers. These are something different. We'd also seen the testing in Fremont. We'd seen them all over the roads. We'd seen leaked photos of them. It's real. It's happening. Now the question is it going to happen in Shanghai at the same time as it is in Fremont? And Shanghai, to me at least, is pretty evidently slightly ahead of where Fremont is at in that production flow. So we shall see. But this is real and imminent. The only remaining question, I guess, because there's still a handful of people who just don't, for whatever reason, don't believe it. And they say, well, it's a slight refresh. It's nothing significant. It may not look significant on the outside. It doesn't have to for it to be real. Because you've got, if it's got the structural front and rear castings, which we believe it will, if it's got a structural battery, which is, I'd say, about 50-50, all of those improve cost. They improve speed. They improve efficiency. They make a cheaper car that's every bit as good, maybe even a little bit better. And there are a huge number of lessons that were learned later with the Model Y that were not yet carried backward to the Model 3. It's time for those. This will improve the margins, not so much for this quarter, but in Q4 and beyond, because at launch, there's no way this is going to be as cheap or cheaper than the Model 3 today. Why would it be? They're still ramping. Demand is high. We're going to be looking at big fat margins on the Model 3 with those normalizing only once demand is satisfied in 2 to 3 years or more. And it will take that long because they only make Model 3 in 2 factories. And I have seen nothing to indicate plans to expand Model 3 production into other factories.